Hi friends, we are into Model 7. This is about a simple topic, a subtopic capital adequacy ratio. The objective of this topic is capital framework of banks functioning in India. The Model 7 is about calculation of risk adjusted and risk weighted assets and capital adequacy ratio. The capital adequacy ratio is used to describe adequacy of capital resources of a bank in relation to the risk associated with its operation. The generally banking primary operation is lending the money. When you lend the money, generally for bank, advances is an asset for them. Advances given by the bank, and the capital adequacy ratio will give you a clarity of whether you got enough capital funds against risk adjusted risk weighted assets. So, in this regard, the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision had published the first Basel Capital Accord, popularly called as Basel I Framework, in July 1988, prescribing a minimum capital adequacy requirements in bank for maintaining the soundness and stability of the international banking system. That means the minimum capital adequacy requirement in banks for maintaining soundness and stability of international banking system. And also they want to diminish existing source of competitive inequality among international banks. And then after Basel I framework, Basel II norms were released. Now we are almost into Basel III. The main objective of the Basel Committee was to stop reckless lending by banks, to strengthen the soundness and stability of the banking system, and to have a comparative footing of the bank of different countries. So in India, with a view to adopting the Basel Committee on Banking Supervision framework on capital adequacy, which takes into account the elements of credit risk in various types of assets in the balance sheet as well as off balance sheet business, and also to strengthen the capital base of the banks. If you are strengthening the capital base of the bank, it strengthens the soundness and stability of the banking system. So because of that, the Reserve Bank of India decided in April 1992 to introduce a risk asset ratio system for banks, including foreign banks in India, as a capital adequacy measure. Okay, so the purpose of this topic is how to calculate capital adequacy ratio. That is simple. Okay, so here if you look at it, the objective, whatever I have explained here, given here, the objective of capital adequacy norms to stop reckless lending by bank, to strengthen the soundness and stability of banking system, to achieve high degree of consistency, to have comparative footing of the banks of different countries. Okay, this is the main reason. Now, what is minimum capital adequacy ratio? Every bank should maintain a minimum capital adequacy ratio based on capital funds and risk assets. So it's a comparison between capital funds and risk assets. All India scheduled commercial banks, excluding regional rural banks as well as foreign banks operating in India, are required to achieve 9% capital adequacy ratio. If capital adequacy ratio is less than 9%, I think bank should improve ratio by introducing further capital. We'll be learning the capital funds in two categories: Tier 1 capital and Tier 2 capital. Tier 1 capital is a core capital. Okay. So you should see the capital adequacy ratio basing upon Basel II committee is 9%. So this is what has been given in your material. And they also said that the ratio, that is ratio of capital fund to risk weighted assets plus off balance sheet items. The 9%, how you are going to calculate? Capital fund numerator divided by risk weighted assets plus off balance sheet items. What is risk weighted assets? We discuss later on. Here off balance sheet items mean the items which are not appearing in the balance sheet are called as off balance sheet items, which are generally contingent in nature, like acknowledgement, guarantee given by the banks, etc., which is specified by the RBI from time to time. If you look at this capital to risk weighted asset ratio, is the ratio of a bank's capital to risk by March 31, 2020. They are expecting to of by 11.50%. Actually, by 31st March 2020. This is off the record. In the material that has not been given, but they are expecting the ratio is to be 11.50%. Now, capital adequacy ratio by capital to risk weighted asset ratio formula. Capital funds. I think this simple formula you should remember. Capital funds consisting of tier 1 and tier 2 capital by risk weighted assets plus off balance sheet items into 100. Repeat it once again. Capital funds, this formula, if you remember, you can work out the problem. Capital funds consisting of tier 1 and tier 2 capital by risk weighted assets plus off balance sheet items. The capital adequacy ratio measures financial solvency of Indian and foreign banks under the Basel II norms. Banks can lend only about 22 times of their core capital. 22 times of core. If my core capital is 1 lakh, I can lend it to 22 times. This is what? 22 times of their core capital the bank can lend. But when you look at the ratio, what is the ratio we are having? Tell me. 9% is to be achieved. If it is less than 9%, I think you should introduce further in tier 1 capital. Tier 1 capital is considered as a core capital. Okay. So now let us look at one by one. What is meaning of capital funds? Meaning of capital fund, the Basel committee has defined capital in two types, tier 1 and tier 2. Tier 1 capital is also known as core capital. It comprises elements that are the most permanent and readily available support to a bank against unexpected losses. It comprises the elements that are the most permanent and readily available support to a bank against unexpected losses. Generally, that means the tier 1 capital is readily available support to a bank against unexpected losses by lending. That's simple words. It is calculated as follows. Paid up capital, tier 1 capital, statutory reserves, which is to be maintained by the regulation, security premium, capital reserve, representing surplus on sale of assets held in a separate account only, that is profit on sale of asset, other disclosed free reserves which are available for declaration of dividend, you know about. I think you can remember tier 1 capital, paid up capital plus statutory reserves, security premium, capital reserve, other disclosed free reserves. From the total, you must subtract equity investment in subsidiaries. Equity investment in subsidiaries. You know what is subsidiaries? Intangible assets, current and brought forward losses. I think these three you have to subtract, then you will be getting tier 1 capital. Repeat once again. How to calculate tier 1 capital? Paid up capital plus statutory reserve plus security premium plus capital reserve plus other disclosed free reserves. From that, you should subtract equity investment in subsidiaries, intangible assets, current and brought forward losses is equal to Tier 1 capital. You can see the formula once again. How to calculate capital adequacy ratio? How much it has to be? 9%, as I told you, as per Basel Committee 2. But I think by 31st March 2020, it has to be 11.5%. But we are working out the problem basing upon capital adequacy ratio. Minimum ratio has to be 9%. And that keeps on changing. RBI keeps on changing that ratio for the time being. As per Basel 2 Committee, it is 9%. So capital funds is consisting of Tier 1 and Tier 2 capital by risk weighted assets plus off balance sheet items. So now we have seen in capital funds the Tier 1 capital. Is this clear? If you want, you can have a quick look at it. Then we can go to the Tier 2 capital. Okay. Now let us see Tier 2 capital. It comprises elements that are less permanent in nature, are less readily available than those comprising Tier 1 capital. Tier 1 capital is readily available for meeting the risk arising on assets. Now, Tier 2 capital compared to Tier 1 capital is less permanent in nature. It is calculated as follows. Undisclosed reserves and fully paid up cumulative perpetual preference shares. Here, cumulative perpetual means it should not contain clauses which permit redemption by the holder. Perpetual means continuation, existence. Simple words, it should not contain clause which permit redemption by the holder. You can't go for redemption of preference shares. So that is what is called as perpetual preference shares. Undisclosed reserves, reserves which have not been disclosed there, and fully paid up cumulative perpetual preference shares. The fully paid up cumulative perpetual preference shares is nothing but it should not contain clauses which permit redemption by the holder. Then revaluation reserve. See what happened when you go for revaluation reserve, revaluation of assets, etc. It is estimation, no? So the banking RBI has mentioned that you discount the revaluation reserve by 55%. That means suppose 100 rupees is the value of asset. I am expecting it to increase by say 100 rupees more. So 100 has increased by 100. That means the revaluation reserve is 100. But this is only estimation. Revaluation is valuing the asset again. You are not sure of it. That is why for revaluation asset, for calculation of Type 2 capital, you are calculating discount at the rate of 55%. Is this clear? Then general provision and loss reserves. General provision and loss reserves not exceeding 1.25% of weighted risk assets. Not exceeding 1.25% of weighted risk assets means the weightage of the risk assets we will be discussing. What is that risk assets? Generally, weight of risk assets is nothing but generally we show the assets in the balance sheet at book value. But This risk weight assets will tell you about what is the actual expected value of the asset that you are going to realize, but not the book value as asset which is appearing. Okay, that means every asset is having risk. That risk weighting, that risk weightage, what is the risk weightage that has been prescribed by the bank RBI, and that risk weight you have to calculate. So general provision and loss reserves not exceeding 1.25% of weighted risk. Okay, this for the meeting the risk, you are creating a general provision and loss reserves to meet the losses arising of risk weighted assets. Then hybrid debt capital instruments. What is hybrid debt capital? Perpetual cumulative preference shares we have learned, and not only that, it also consisting of redeemable non-cumulative preference shares and redeemable cumulative preference shares. So we are having three things: perpetual cumulative preference shares, redeemable non-cumulative preference shares. Redeemable cumulative preference shares will comes under the category of hybrid debt capital instruments. Then subordinate debt. What is subordinate debt? Having initial maturity period of at least 5 years and remaining maturity period more than 1 year. Subordinate debt means having initial maturity period of at least 5 years. Maturity period is debt which is going to mature in 5 years, and remaining maturity period of more than 1 year, then it is called as subordinate debt. About the subordinate debt, you got an explanation in the material. If you want, you can just go through the subordinate debt meaning. To be eligible for inclusion, just I am reading out for information, it was there in page number 10.40 E point. To be eligible for inclusion type 2 capital, the instrument should be fully paid up, unsecured, subordinated to the claims of other creditors, free of restrictive clause, and should not be redeemable at the initiative of the holder or without the consent of the Reserve Bank of India. They often carry a fixed maturity. As they approach maturity, they should be subjected to progressive discount for inclusion in Type 2 capital. Instrument with an initial maturity of less than 5 years or with a remaining maturity of 1 year included should not be included as part of Tier 2 capital. Should not be included as a part of Tier 2 capital. Subordinate instrument will be limited to 50% of Tier capital. That means the debt which is going to mature. Initial maturity is 5 years and remaining maturity of more than 1 year. Okay, and that is what is important. And remaining maturity of 1 year should not be included. But here I have written remaining maturity period more than 1 year. That means it is not then less than 1 year will not be considered as Tier 2 capital. Simple words: initial maturity 5 years. Remaining maturity of period is more than 1 year, but it should not be less than 1 year. But and that subordinate not exceeding 50% of Tier 1 capital will be taken into consideration. Tier 2 capital, and obviously this Tier 2 capital is not core capital, and this should not exceed which capital? Tier 1 capital. Now let us quickly sum up this. What is Tier 2 capital? Undisclosed reserves. Point number 1. Undisclosed reserves. In simple words, these elements have the capacity to absorb unexpected losses, can be included in the capital if they represent accumulations of post-tax profits and not encumbered by any known liability, and should not be routinely used for absorbing normal loan or operating losses. That means these reserves are not meant for absorbing normally arising losses, can be called as undisclosed reserves, and fully paid cumulative perpetual preference shares. Then revaluation reserves, I have already told you about that, and general provision and losses for meeting risk weight on risk assets not exceeding 1.25%. Then hybrid debt capital. Already I have explained hybrid debt capital is nothing but perpetual cumulative preference shares or redeemable non-cumulative preference shares or redeemable cumulative preference shares. I think this all comes under the category of type 2 capital. And one more point is subordinate debt. And this type 2 capital shall not exceed tier 1 capital. Now let us see. Risk adjusted value of on balance sheet items. Whatever the items which are appearing in the balance sheet, what is the risk that is being adjusted to the value of items which is appearing in the balance sheet. So basically why you are going to go for adjusting is that for capital adequacy ratio purpose, the entire asset side of balance sheet is recalculated on the basis of assigning risk weights to each category of assets, because this follows principles of conservatism. The asset value is 100, the risk is 20%. Say that means what is that asset you are expecting to get? 80 rupees. This is what. Who is going to decide? The RBI has given guidelines. In that they have mentioned for each asset what type of asset, what type of risk is being adjusted. Now you can see generally risk adjusted value of balance sheet items. In that we are having 2 points. Risk adjusted value of on balance sheet items. Formula: book value of a balance sheet item into risk weight assigned by RBI to this item. I repeat once again, book value of a balance sheet item into risk weight assigned. The risk weight varies from 0% to 150% depending upon the asset. It's a very big list, very difficult for you to remember. So for that purpose in the material they have given very simple explanation. We are taking few assets and having selected few assets and adjusting the risk weight to those assets which are appearing in the balance sheet. I have already told you, for capital adequacy ratio purpose, entire asset side of balance sheet is recalculated on the basis of assigning a risk weight to each category of assets. This follows principles of conservatism, considering the assets at their risk adjusted values rather than book value. That is why the risk weight assets 0%, 20%, 50%, 70%, 100%, 125% and 150%. Okay. Now let us see E point. D we have discussed already, risk adjusted to value of a balance sheet items. Next E, risk adjusted value of off balance sheet items. Generally guarantee or endorsement given by bank are off balance sheet items. It will mature only when you are unable to, you given a guarantee endorsement and the party on whose behalf you have given, if he failed to make a payment, that will become contingent liability and the same thing also will become contingent asset. So for such assets a formula is bit different. Face value of balance sheet items, you can compare here book value of balance sheet item into risk weight assigned by RBI. Here face value of balance sheet item into credit conversion factor assigned by RBI into risk weight assigned by RBI. What is credit conversion factor? Is it 20% credit conversion factor or 30% credit conversion factor? That is to be seen. Now here I have given the meaning of credit conversion. Credit conversion factor reflects the risk of loss inherent in the nature of off balance sheet items which is not appearing in the balance sheet. So what is the risk? On that risk, what is the weight? Credit conversion factor reflects the risk of loss inherent in the nature of off-balance sheet items, and on that what is the risk that is to be assigned that we should see. Second point, risk weight attributable to the relevant counterparty recognize the degree of likelihood of the counterparty making default. Like as I told you, risk weight attributable to the relevant counterparty means the counterparty on whose behalf you have accepted it. What is the risk that is attributable is we are taking into consideration for making default. I have given an example for explaining the second point. What is second point? Off balance sheet items. What is that first we should do? Off balance sheet item. Direct credit substitutes guaranteed by central state government. What is conversion factor? 100%. Because when the government has given, no issue. 100% we can expect. Risk weight is 0%. Counter guarantee by other banks. See, we have lent the money, guarantee given by government, credit conversion factor means you're sure of getting it 100%. Like in the COVID package, we have seen in some cases equity, government has given guarantee. Like government may give banks guarantee. Then bank has advanced the money, guarantee by central or state government. Then credit conversion factor is 100%. Counter guarantee given by other banks also 100% given by other banks. But risk weight is 0 because government has given guarantee. But guarantee given by other banks, risk weight is how much? 20%. And in case of others, other than central state government or counter guarantee by other banks, others, credit conversion factor is 100%. Risk is also how much? 100%. Okay. So for detailed reference to annexure 4 of study material for both on balance sheet items and off balance sheet items you can see. But from the examination point of view, in the material they have given a very simple way of explaining things. In brief, the important weights for the purpose of ascertainment of capital adequacy ratio are as follows. This is given in study material. Item of asset cash balance with RBI 0%. We are talking about this is for balance sheet items, my dear friends. In the example also they have given problem here. The material they have given you, the risk weight is for only balance sheet items. For off balance sheet item, one more point we need to add. What is that we need to add? Credit conversion factor, which is not required for balance sheet items. Directly we can go for risk weight. Balances in current account with other banks, 20% risk weight. Investment in government securities, 0 risk. Other investment, 100% risk. Loans and advances guarantee by government, 0. Other loans and advances, 100% risk. Bank premises, furniture and fittings, 100%. All off balance sheet items. Now this is related to which one? Off balance sheet items like LI, letter of credit, letter of guarantee, bills, etc. 100%. And credit conversion factor is also we have seen 100% there. Example, off balance sheet items, weight risk is 100. Non-funded exposure to real estate is 150%. Okay, I think these rates you can remember. Then note, reporting for capital adequacy. Now, bank should furnish an annual return specified by RBI under capital adequacy norms, and it should be signed by 2 officials who are authorized to sign the statutory returns and submitted to RBI. So simple words, my dear friends. If you sum up this so far, what I have discussed, first I need capital fund. What is capital fund, my dear friends? Tier 1 capital plus Tier 2 capital by denominator. What is the denominator? We have seen that here. Come on, recollect. Tier 1 capital plus Tier 2 capital by capital fund by. You can see here, sir. What is the formula we have discussed here? Risk weighted assets plus off balance sheet items into 100. Capital funds consisting of Tier 1 and Tier 2 capital by risk weighted assets plus off balance sheet items into 100. Now let us take one example which is given in the study material. A commercial bank has the following capital funds and assets. Segregate the capital funds into tier 1 and tier 2 capitals. Find out the risk adjusted assets and risk weighted assets ratio. Now, I am going to ask you about capital funds. You should tell me whether it comes in a tier 1 capital or tier 2 capital. Equity share capital, my dear friends. Come on, tell me. Tier 1 capital. Statutory reserve. Tier 1 capital. Capital reserve, of which 280 lakhs were due to revaluation of assets and balance due to sale. I think out of 1210, revaluation reserve will be taken to tier 2, no? So 1210 minus 280, it is coming to how much? 930. 930 will be taken to tier 1 capital. 280 revaluation reserve will be taken to tier 2 capital after adjusting discounting factor to the extent of 55%. Okay. Then assets, cash and balances with RBI. We have seen what is percentage of it. It is balance sheet item, no? Cash balances with RBI 100% is 0% risk. Balances with other bank 20%. Claims on banks, we have seen that 20%. Other investments 100%. We have seen the rates here, my dear friends. You can see this. Cash balances with RBI 0. Balances current account with other banks 20. Investments in government securities 0. Other investments 100. Loans advance guaranteed by government 0. Other loans and advances 100. Bank premises furniture. All of balance sheet items 100%. Non-funded exposure to risk 150. That is what we are seeing. Now, loans and advances guaranteed by government 0. Guaranteed by public sector is also, undertaking of central government is also 0. Then when it comes to others, premises, furniture and fixtures 100%. Other assets risk weight is 100%. Now, off balance sheet items, acceptances, endorsements and letter of credit. We have seen credit conversion fact is also 100. Percentage of it is also 100. Okay, now we can see the solution, whatever you have seen. Capital fund, equity share capital, statutory reserve, tier 1. Capital reserve arising out of sale of assets excluding their revaluation assets reserve. Is this clear? So then it is coming to 9.3. Total is 769.3. Type 2 capital. Capital reserve arising out of revaluation of assets 280. It is called as revaluation reserve. What is discounting? 55%. So now 1.26. 769.3 C is 30 plus 1.26 coming to 770.56. We are having capital funds consisting of tier 1, tier 2. Now risk adjusted assets. Now we have seen already cash balances RBI. Percentage of it 0. Amount in lakhs is 0. There is no risk associated. Balance with other banks 20% risk. Claim on banks 5.70. Other investments 782.50. That means, I repeat once again, when we are having percentage of after weight, these all are the losses. Amount in lakhs are losses. Whether the capital is sufficient to meet these losses or not is capital adequacy ratio. Simple words. Got it? Whether these, after adjusting the weights, these are the expected losses, whether these losses are, the capital is sufficient to meet these losses or not, that we are looking into it. Okay. Then loans and advances guaranteed by government, no issue, no risk in this. Guaranteed by public sector, no risk undertaken by central government. Others 100% risk. Premises furniture 100% risk. Other assets 100% risk. That means, so now what is the total risk? 63,763 comma 76 comma 40 lakhs. Okay, this is risk that is being attached. Now, off balance sheet items. Credit conversion factor is 100. For acceptance and endorses, risk is also how much? 100%. We have seen in the table there. Okay, all off balance sheet items, 8th point you can see in the material or in the notes I have given. Credit conversion factor is 100 and risk is also 100%. Now risk weighted adjusted capital funds tier 1 and tier 2 we got 7 comma 769.30 plus 1.26 by risk adjusted assets plus off balance sheet item 7.65%. Now expected ratio is 9%. That means you are having 7.65% capital adequate to cover the losses. But what is the capital that is adequate to cover the losses has to be 9%. In future, it is to be 11.5%. So expected ratio is 9%. So the bank has to improve the ratio by introducing further tier 1 capital to meet the losses arising on assets. Is this clear? Okay. I think this might have given you clarity. So with this, all the 7 points is simple. You can easily score. Now about this topic, how to remember, sir? First find out tier 1 capital, tier 2 capital will become capital fund by risk adjusted assets of balance sheet items. Risk adjusted assets of balance sheet items are nothing but these risk adjusted asset loss you are expecting on balance sheet items, loss you are expecting on off balance sheet items. Loss on off balance sheet items are nothing but credit, letter of credit, guarantee given, etc. can be taken as off balance sheet items, and whatever the guarantee given by the bank is a contingent liability. Since you got the guarantee, on that you are collecting the money in the form of some security we have discussed in the previous topic, acceptance as endorsement. And that particular guarantee given by them is a contingent asset. I think what is the risk on that that we have seen? Acceptance endorsement 100% risk. We are not sure. So these are the probable losses. That means whether you got enough capital to meet these losses or not is to be seen. Okay, I hope you understood this. You can go through this once again. Okay, so in the next class we start bank final accounts. Initially I'll be starting with the format of bank final account. We had discussion on that once, but we'll be having detailed discussion. Then we work out for a couple of classes. We go for bank final accounts, working out problems on bank final accounts. Okay, my dear friends, thank you very much. God bless you all.